त्याला हातभार लावला. शेतकऱ्यांसाठी आम्ही शेतकरी सन्मान योजना 12,000 रुपये केले. केंद्राचे 6, आमचे 6. आज मी तुम्हाला सांगतो, आम्ही महायुतीचा वचननामा केला. त्याच्यामध्ये 10 कलमी 10 सूत्री कार्यक्रम केला. टॉप 10. ये ट्रेलर है, पिक्चर अभी बाकी है. यामध्ये माझ्या महिला लाडक्या बहिणींना 2100 रुपये, शेतकऱ्यांना कर्ज माफी देण्याचा निर्णय घेतलाय. शेतकऱ्यांना 12,000 मिळत होते ते 15,000 करण्याचा निर्णय घेतलाय. भुकेलेला अन्न कोणी या राज्यात उपाशी पोटी झोपता कामा नये, हा निर्णय आम्ही घेतलाय. रोटी, कपडा और मकान देण्याचा निर्णय आम्ही घेतलाय. वृद्धांना, ज्येष्ठांना पेन्शन योजना 1500ची 2100 रुपये आम्ही केली. जीवनावश्यक वस्तूंचे भाव जसं बाळासाहेबांनी 1995ला केले होते, स्थिर ठेवण्याचा निर्णय घेतला. विरोधक म्हणतात बेरोजगारांसाठी काय, तर बेरोजगारांसाठी आपण 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 प्रशिक्षण भत्ता सुरू केला. आणि आता या वचननाम्यात 25 लाख रोजगार निर्मिती करणार आणि 10 लाख आपल्या बेरोजगारांना आम्ही 10,000 रुपये महिन्याला प्रशिक्षण भत्ता देण्याचा निर्णय घेतला. आणि त्याचबरोबर शहरी भागाप्रमाणे ग्रामीण भागाचा विकास झाला पाहिजे म्हणून 45,000 गावांमध्ये पांदन रस्ते बांधण्याचा निर्णय आम्ही घेतलाय. सगळ्या शेतकऱ्यांसाठी अंगणवाडी आणि आशा सेविका यांना 15,000 रुपये महिन्याला देण्याचा निर्णय घेतला. आणि शेतकऱ्यांना 7.5 HP मोटर पंपाचं शेती करतात त्याचं वीज बिल माफ करण्याचा निर्णय घेतला. आणि त्याचबरोबर जे इतर वीज बिल जो आहे, सगळे जे वीज ग्राहक आहेत त्यामध्ये आता येणाऱ्या बिलात म्हणजे जे घरगुती वापर असेल, लाईट, पंखा, फ्रीज जे वापरत असतील त्याच्यामध्ये 30% सवलत देण्याचा निर्णय आपल्या सरकारने घेतला. अशा योजना आपण केल्या. आणि 100 दिवसाच्या आत विजन महाराष्ट्र जाहीर करण्याचा निर्णय आम्ही घेतलाय. आणि म्हणून आपल्याला मी एवढंच सांगतो, सोयाबीन, कापूस हे जेव्हा भाव पडतात तेव्हा शेतकऱ्याला नुकसान होतं, त्याला भावांतर योजना आम्ही लागू करतोय. जो गॅप पडेल तो 20% पर्यंत सरकार भरून देण्याचा निर्णय घेतला. हे शेतकऱ्यांसाठी आम्ही केलंय. शेतकरी अन्नदाता आहे, शेतकरी मायबाप आहे, म्हणून सरकारच्या तिजोरीवर पहिला अधिकार शेतकऱ्याचा आहे, माझ्या बळीराजाचा आहे. आणि म्हणून ते आम्ही करतोय. आणि म्हणून मी आपल्याला एवढंच सांगतो की आपल्या भावनाताईंनी यवतमाळ, वाशिम लोकसभा मतदारसंघात या ठिकाणी अनेक विकास कामं केली. त्याने वर्धा, यवतमाळ, नांदेड रेल्वे मार्गासाठी प्रयत्न केले. शकुंतला रेल्वेसाठी केंद्राकडून 50% निधी मंजूर करून घेतला. वाशिम, उसद, माहूर, आदिलाबाद रेल्वे मार्गासाठी राज्य सरकारकडून 50% निधी उपलब्ध करून देण्यासाठी पाठपुरावा केला. वाशिम, यवतमाळ MIDCत नवीन उद्योग यावे, रोजगार मिळावा म्हणून त्यासाठी प्रयत्न केले. यातून जिल्ह्यातील तरुणांना रोजगार मिळेल या जिल्ह्यासाठी सातत्याने त्यांनी प्रयत्न केलेत. त्यामुळे मी आपल्याला एवढंच सांगतो की सरकार तुमच्या बाजूचं आहे, सरकार सर्वसामान्यांचं आहे. महायुती निवडणूक लढवतीये. महायुतीचा एक आमदार आपल्याला महत्वाचा आहे. महाविकास आघाडीने 2.5 वर्ष काम केलं, सगळे वनवासात होते, सगळं बंद होतं. परत त्यांचं तुम्हाला सरकार आणायचं आहे वनवासवाल्यांचं. आणि म्हणून माझ्या लाडक्या बहिणींना मी विचारतो, ते म्हणाले लाडकी बहीण योजना, लाडका भाऊ योजना, लाडका शेतकरी योजना, लाडका ज्येष्ठ योजना, लाडकी मुलगी. एका मुलीने आत्महत्या केली, इंजिनिअरिंग मध्ये शिकत होती. तुमच्या एकनाथ शिंदेने रात्री 12:30-1 वाजता बातमी वाचली टीव्हीवर. मी म्हणालो आपल्या राज्यात शिक्षणासाठी मुली आत्महत्या करत असतील तर राज्य सरकार काय उपयोगाचं आहे. आणि त्याच दिवशी मुलींना डॉक्टर, इंजिनियर, वकील, MBA, फायनान्स जे शिक्षण घ्यायचं ते मोफत देण्याचा आम्ही निर्णय घेतला. या सर्व योजनांची महाविकास आघाडी म्हणाले आम्ही चौकशी लावणार. अरे तुम्ही कोण चौकशी लावणार? तुम्ही सरकारमध्ये आलात चौकशी लावाल ना. म्हणाले चौकशी लावून जे दोषी आहेत त्यांना जेलमध्ये टाकणार. अरे कुणाला हिम्मत, कुणाला पोकळ घोषणा, पोकळ धमक्या देताय? एकनाथ शिंदे तुमच्या पोकळ धमक्यांना डरणारा नाही. याने तर तुमचं अख्खं सरकार पलटवून टाकलंय. आणि म्हणून तरी सुद्धा मी सांगतो माझ्या लाडक्या बहिणी, लाडके भाऊ, लाडके शेतकरी, लाडके ज्येष्ठ यांसाठी जेलमध्ये जायला लागलं तर एकनाथ शिंदे एकदा नाही 100 वेळा जेलमध्ये जायला तयार. पण मला विश्वास आहे माझ्या लाडक्या बहिणींनी ठरवलंय, लाडक्या भावांनी ठरवलंय, लाडक्या शेतकऱ्यांनी ठरवलंय की पुन्हा महायुतीचं सरकार आणण्याचा विडा उचललाय, संकल्प केलाय. सगळ्यांनी ठरवलंय ना महायुतीला परत जिंकायचं. आणि आमच्या भाऊजींना पण तुम्ही सगळ्यांनी सांगा. म्हणायचं आता बिलकुल चालणार नाही, या लाडक्या भावांच्या मागे उभं राहायचंय. हे दुसरे सावत्र भाऊ, दुष्ट कपटी भाऊ यांच्यापासून सावध राहा. यांनी तुमच्या योजना बंद पाडण्यासाठी खूप प्रयत्न केला. कोर्टामध्ये गेले, कोर्टाने त्यांनी एक चपराक दिली, पळा म्हणाले इथून. आता नागपूरच्या कोर्टात गेले, तिथून पण पळवतील. पण किती, एकच मला माझ्या लाडक्या बहिणींना सांगायचं आहे, हे जेव्हा तुमच्याकडे मतदान मागायला येतील तेव्हा मत त्यांना विचारा की तुम्ही लाडकी बहीण योजना बंद करण्याचा का प्रयत्न केला, का कोर्टात गेले, का आमच्या मुलाबाळांच्या तोंडचा घास हिरावून घेण्याचा का पाप केलं, हे मात्र तुम्ही विचारणार. तुम्ही विचारणार. सगळ्यांना विचारा. एवढं विचारल्याबरोबर आलेला माणूस असा पळत सुटेल, परत तुम्हाला दिसणार नाही. आणि म्हणून मी आपल्याला एवढंच सांगतो, ही महायुती मजबूत आहे. महायुती अगदी मजबूतीने काम करते आहे. या मतदारसंघामध्ये काही लोक दिशाभूल करताय की भारतीय जनता पक्षाचा, देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहेबांचा सपोर्ट आम्हाला आहे, आम्हाला पंकजाताईचा सपोर्ट आहे, आम्हाला भारतीय जनता पक्षाचा सपोर्ट आहे, असं खोटं नाटक काही लोक दिशाभूल करतायत. त्यांच्यापासून सावध राहा. महायुती म्हणजे महायुती. आणि महायुतीचं चिन्ह काय? एकीकडे धनुष्यबाण, दुसरीकडे कमळ किंवा घड्याळ. चौथी निशाणी बिलकुल नाही. आणि मला वाटतं काय कुकर का काय, अरे बाबा इथं धनुष्यबाण आहे. आता धनुष्यबाण सुटल्यावर त्या कुकरची हवा निघाल्याशिवाय राहणार की नाही. आणि म्हणून आपण सगळ्यांनी बघा, इथं भाजपचे सर्व पदाधिकारी आहे, मला त्यांचा अभिमान आहे, मला अभिमान, गर्व आहे, समाधान आहे की भारतीय जनता पार्टी जिथं उभा आहे तिथं शिवसेनेचे सगळे ताकदीने स्वतःच उमेदवार आहे समजून काम करतात. तसं इथं भारतीय जनता पार्टीचे जे लोक काम करतात त्यांचं मी अभिनंदन करतो. आणि मी सांगतो महायुतीचं सरकार तर जरूर येणार आहे, कुठल्याही परिस्थितीत येणार. त्याला कोणी थांबू शकणार नाही. कारण 2.25 वर्षात केलेलं काम बोलतंय आणि कामाची पोचपावती या ठिकाणी आपल्याला मिळणार आहे. आणि म्हणून पुन्हा एकदा मी सांगतो, एकही मत खराब करू नका, एकही मत वाया जाऊ देऊ नका. या भर उन्हामध्ये माझे बांधव उभे आहेत, त्यांची मी क्षमा मागतो की आपल्याला उन्हात तिकडे उभं राहावं लागले, तरी सुद्धा तुम्ही लाडक्या बहिणीसाठी आलेला, आपल्या लाडक्या भावनाताईसाठी आलेला. मला तुमच्या चेहऱ्यावरून दिसतंय की विजय भावनाताईचा पक्का आहे. आणि कोणी सांगू दे, कुणाचंही नाव सांगितलं तरी विश्वास ठेवायचा नाही. मी आता देवेंद्रजींशी बोललो फोनवरून, त्यांना मी सांगितलं, ते बोलले बिलकुल आमचा कुकर बुकरशी काही संबंध नाही, आमचा धनुष्य बाणाशी संबंध आहे, आमचा धनुष्य बाणाशी संबंध आहे. आणि म्हणून तुम्हाला मी सांगतो, एवढे लोक आले तुम्ही एकत्र, एवढ्या लोकांनी ठरवलं ना, तर त्या कुकरची शिट्टी गुम झाल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही, डिपॉझिट जप्त झाल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही. अशा प्रकारचा विजय मिळवा. माझ्या लाडक्या बहिणींना मी सांगतो, या लाडक्या भावाची विनंती आहे तुम्हाला, एक लाडकी बहीण तुमच्या समोर आम्ही दिली आहे, तिला मतदान करा आणि आपल्या घरची जेवढी मतं आहेत या सगळ्यांना सांगा, आम्ही बोलतो ते करतो, आम्ही सांगतो ते बोलतो ते करतो. बाळासाहेबांनी आम्हाला सांगितलं, शब्द देताना 100दा विचार करा, पण एकदा शब्द दिला की माघार नाही. आणि हा बाळासाहेबांचा सच्चा सैनिक एकनाथ शिंदे तुमच्याशी बोलतोय. मी जे जे बोललो ते केलंय. एकदा कमिटमेंट दिल्यानंतर मी परत फिरत नाही. आणि म्हणून मी आपल्याला एवढंच सांगतो, येणाऱ्या 20 तारखेला आपण धनुष्यबाणासमोरचं बटन दाबा. धनुष्यबाणासमोरचं बटन दाबून सकाळी लवकर उठून आपण आपल्या घरच्या लोकांना सांगा, आमच्या भाऊजींना सांगा, पहिलं मतदान करून येऊ. आपण पहिलं मतदान करून नंतर चहा पिऊ, नाहीतर आपण चहा पिऊ, नाश्ता करू, मग जेवू, मग थोडा आराम करू. मग असं केलं तर मग गडबड होईल. तुम्हाला सांगतो, लोकसभेमध्ये असंच झालं. फेक नरेटिव्ह पसरवले, संविधान बदलणार, बाबासाहेबांचं संविधान बदलणार, आरक्षण जाणार, सगळ्यांना घाबरवून मतदान घेतलं. पण आता लोक एकदाच फसतात, परत फसतात का? आणि हे काँग्रेसवाले महाविकास आघाडी संविधान, राहुल गांधी विदेशात जाऊन आरक्षण बदलणार म्हणून सांगतात, देशाची बदनामी करतात, प्रधानमंत्र्यांची बदनामी करतात. हे कसलं देशप्रेम आहे? याच काँग्रेसने बाबासाहेबांना 2दा हरवलं होतं ना, निवडणुकीमध्ये 2दा हरवलं. बाबासाहेब म्हणायचे, काँग्रेस हे जळकं घर आहे, याच्यापासून दूर राहा. आणि मी सांगतो, जब तक सूरज चांद रहेगा, बाबा साहेब का संविधान बना रहेगा. आणि म्हणून तुम्हाला माझी विनंती आहे, भावना ताईंना तुम्ही संधी द्या. या रिसोड मतदारसंघाचा कायापालट, या रिसोड मतदारसंघाचं नंदनवन करण्याची जबाबदारी आमची आहे. आणि म्हणून कुठलाही निधी कमी पडू देणार नाही, एवढं सांगतो. पण हक्काचा आमदार निवडून पाठवा, हक्काचा आपल्या परिवारातला निवडून पाठवा, आपल्या लाडक्या बहिणीला निवडून पाठवा, एवढीच विनंती. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र.
कोल्हे साहेब 5 जणांना पाठवा. पंजाबी नरवाडे, सुशील नरवाडे, शिरीष नरवाडे, प्रज्वल नरवाडे, आदित्य नरवाडे लवकर प्रवेश करतील. पंकजाताई मुंडे यांची सभा सकाळी 10 वाजता आपण जमलेले सर्व
with the MQTT, it is useful to know what is the actual standard with which one should implement MQTT. Supposing you want to start implementing MQTT from scratch, you want to develop the full protocol and the related commands which are part of the protocol, you should know that, right. So, the standard should be known very well, that is indeed the basis for anything. So, now let me point you out to the actual standard. The standard is from OSS, it is called another standard which, and the current version is MQTT 3.1. If you look carefully into this standard, it tells you everything about the explanation of the protocol. The abstract is, I would say, one of the best abstracts I have ever seen, which describes the full protocol. I will just read it, in fact it is the real highlight of the thing. It is a client server publish subscribe messaging protocol, it is very well written, lightweight, open, simple and designed to be designed so as to be easy to implement. These characteristics make it ideal for in many situations, including constrained environments such as communication in machine to machine and Internet of Things context, where a small code footprint is required and or network bandwidth is at a premium. The protocol runs over TCP/IP or other network protocols that provide ordered, lossless, bidirectional connections. It features its features include use of publish subscribe message pattern, which provides one to many message distribution and decoupling of applications, a messaging transport that is agnostic to the content of the payload, 3 qualities of service for message delivery, you know this well now, we saw some demonstrations of it, at most once, where messages are delivered according to the best efforts of the operating environment. Loss can occur. This level could be used, for example, with ambient sensor data, where it does not matter if an individual reading is lost, as the next one will be published soon after. See, essentially when you are measuring an ambient environment, the temperatures do not change drastically. So, even if you lose one packet, it does not matter, right. So, that is what it says. So, look at how it can be applied. At least once, where messages are assured to arrive, but duplicates can occur. There is really no harm if multiple messages containing a sensor data actually happen, right. So, in that situation, you do not mind even if it is an at least once kind of thing. You have a way by filtering out multiple messages that come, there is intelligence on the system to remove those messages, that is something that you can actually do. Exactly once, where message are assured to arrive exactly once, this level could be used, for example, with billing systems, where duplicate or lost messages could lead to incorrect charges being applied. You obviously do not want your utility bill to produce your utility bill to appear twice and you pay twice the amount, right. You do not want that to happen. All applications which use MQTT and which use these utility bills, energy metering for instance, you do not want those things to appear twice. So, this is a nice thing, you can actually use it with exactly once. A small transport overhead and protocol exchanges minimized to reduce network traffic, a mechanism to notify interested parties when an abnormal disconnection happens, last will and testament, right. If you recall, that is what it says, a mechanism to notify interested parties when an abnormal disconnection occurs. So, it is a beautiful abstract and speaks all about the protocol itself. You can go and read this document in great detail, cover it in great detail. It does mention about all the messages that we look at. For instance, just going through the table of contents, organization of MQTT, terminology, the data representations, control packet information, MQTT control packet information, then MQTT control packets, connect message which we saw last time, CONNAC, acknowledge connection request, publish message, PUBACK, publish acknowledgement, PUBREC, publish received, right. then pubrel, publish release, pubcomp, publish complete, subscribe, subscribe to topics, suback, subscribe acknowledgement, unsubscribe, unsubscribe from topics, unsuback, unsubscribe acknowledgement, pingrec, ping request, ping response, ping resp, ping response, disconnect, disconnect notification, and quality of service 0, 1, 2, topic names and topic filters, handling errors, and authentication of clients by the server, authorization of clients by the server, authentication of the server by the client. So, all of this falling under this category of 5, which is the security, right. I would say you can handle everything, but it is almost hard for you to handle this security part, right, because the thing is protocol we can, I can show you many demonstrations, but that is not going to take us, I am sure you will pick it up very fast, but you must spend sufficient amount of time on security. I can tell you this, if IoT has to succeed because of you or because of us or any one of us here, the only way by which it can actually become a big success is if you handle security correctly. It is a big pillar, energy is a big pillar, security is another big pillar. These two requirements have to be met. You have to start innovating, start looking around how you can get in security into the IoT systems. So, IoT without minus security is not going to take you very far. IoT minus handling power is not going to take you far. IoT without analytics and proper data understanding and information is not going to take you very far. So, you need data analysts to take care of all the data that is being generated. Data handling has to happen on several gateways, okay, and you must be able to handle secure data communication. So, security is a big pillar. You need 10-year lifetime, so you need energy management, power management also. So, these pillars have to be working together in order to make IoT a great success, okay. So, please spend sufficient significant amount of time understanding this chapter 5. I will assist you in making a few small demonstrations with our project staff. Ms. Tejaswini has spent sufficient time, and we will show you quick demos of these things at the moment, right. We will finish that, but it does not solve the whole problem. You need to understand this thoroughly, sit down and understand this chapter thoroughly, and of course we will be happy to take questions on that. So, this is very important. So, pay attention to chapter 5. Chapter 6 is WebSocket, anything with respect to real timeness, bidirectional data transfer with respect to use of MQTT in real time environments. Bidirectional transfer means you have to understand chapter number 6, which is indeed WebSocket. If time permits, we will try and see if we can spend time there. The rest is all straightforward. There is conformance, conformance targets, MQTT server, MQTT client, and so on. But I think it is important for you, while I stress that you need to understand the security chapter in great detail, we have to also, I want to draw your attention really to this very good abstract which was written about MQTT itself, right. It says small code footprint is required and network bandwidth is at a premium, you should use this protocol. So, why MQTT is actually listed is actually listed here, right, and it also says it runs over TCP IP and so on, ideal in many situations it says. I want to point you to something I saw on the web, and I thought I should just quickly show you some numbers. Okay, if you get, I will now make a comparison of HTTP, sorry, let us take a new page so that we will be able to understand this thoroughly. Let us take a new page and let us start with MQTT and its comparison to, let us say I will put HTTP on one side and MQTT on the other. You know this, right? This is pub sub, this is REST, representational state transfer, two paradigms. You want to get single piece of data, there is a nice comparison. You need 302 bytes. This is information I got from the web, but you can actually experiment this and try and find out yourself. You need just 68 bytes, okay, 68 bytes. Single, if you want to, this is to get. Supposing you want to send, right, if you want to send single piece of data, this is 320 bytes. And here it is just 47 bytes. If you want to get 100 pieces of data, get 100 pieces of data, this is 12600 bytes and this is 2445 bytes, right. So, you can go on like this, right, which is a clear indicator that MQTT is a clear winner, it is a winner and it actually justifies what was written in the abstract, particularly if you are looking at sensor data, sensor networks and sensor data. Therefore, why MQTT, if you ask yourself, well, one of the reasons why MQTT is because of its extremely small data packet size. Everything is sent in binary form and no comparison at all to HTTP's HTTP protocol, particularly RESTful architecture. Remember, you do not want to compromise on security, I keep telling you this, very important. You have HTTPS in the case of in the HTTP world, you need something very similar in the MQTT world. Therefore, the chapter on MQTT from the standard is a very critical part. So, you have to read that chapter and therefore find out how you can add security to that, to this particular. So, no compromise in security, but at the same time reduction in the I would say reduction in the payloads gives you the flexibility of trying to ensure that it is highly optimized for sensor networks, it is optimized for low bandwidth links, it is meant for optimized for low footprint systems, particularly in the IoT world, which is essentially doing some sensing and some communication, some computing, communication and some control, very specified activity, extremely good because it has that publish subscribe article paradigm, and it can do one to many, which was not possible in the case of HTTPS because it uses TCP. The complete delinking between the publisher and the subscriber passing through the broker gives a great advantage. So, all these things have to be borne in your mind when you try to pick MQTT as against other protocols which may be useful, right. So, this is one thing. Just continuing on the HTTP RESTful, I will say REST architecture, and MQTT the pub sub architecture. Just let us quickly finish off this. What are the things that you have here in terms of verbs? So, basically before you go on to that, this is if you look at this, this is more like style is more like a document, right. It is more document, lot of things written up there, formatted well, is more, I would say, more like a nice beautiful document. Every time a page is uploaded, I mean downloaded onto your browser, you will see it like a beautiful document. It is like a document centric system, and there is a request and then there is a response, right, in the HTTP case, but here this is more I am looking for certain sensor data, right. So, it is more data centric, more about numbers, more about sensing, more about data that is going through in terms of whatever protocol that you use. It is more about using of the data, it is more data centric, and it is indeed using publish, subscribe. Alright, this is one. The second thing is, if you look at some of the verbs that are used in the HTTP world, you have get, right, you have post, then you have post, then you have delete, and so on, right. The many more such things, get, post, delete, put is also there, post, put, and so on. Anyway, that is all, these are all the verbs which are there. Here you have very simple pub, sub, unsub, right, and so on, very simple protocol, very simple protocol, easy to learn, right, pretty easy to learn. And this is message size. If you take message size, this is large I would say. This is just, it can be as small as even 2 bytes. Minimum header means, I have not got into the header detail, but if you go through the document you will see the header detail. It can be as small as, minimum header can be even as small as this. What about quality of service? Quality of service, right. You can't say how you want your document to come, alright. So, essentially there is nothing here, there is nothing here, right, but here you have 3 levels, right. And if you look at data distribution, data, this is mostly 1 to 1, here it is 1 to many, right, because of the decoupling you are able to do 1 to many. So, therefore, there are major advantages if you use, so I am trying to say why MQTT. If you ask your question, these are some of the super comparisons that you can think of when you actually talk about MQTT. So, this is in some form something very useful for you to keep in the back of your mind before you go. But you may now ask another question which may be of interest to us, but before I go on, let me just quickly put down a few things that will sort of clear the discussion on MQTT. You must note that session is an important thing, right. You must look at sessions. So, I want you to look at sessions, identifies an attachment basically. Well, I have copied this from the standard document. So, you have nothing to, you do not have to worry about anything here. So, you just have to look at sessions, attaches and identifies an attachment of a client, right, to a server, and all communication between client and server takes place as part of this session, that is very important. Then you may also want to look at publish. I do not want to elaborate this, we have done this earlier. Subscribe, retain message. So, I would say look up these things, very important, because they are all the ones that will help you understand several things, nice things about the protocol. Alright, so this is one thing, and then there are number of messages. Do not forget to look up MQTT's messages, connect, then you have CONAC, we have already seen this, but I want you to look up all these things, and then that will allow you to understand the protocol very well. Then there is a format, there is a packet format you can easily look up. I do not want to spend time looking at that. There is a message formats for each one of them. Connect, for instance, Connect has a message format. Okay. So there will be a message type, then there will be the all different fields which are there. So I do not want to spend time there, I expect you to look up that thing. But before we move on to anything with respect to security, which I promised I will show you some demo, I thought I should also tell you something about how MQTT, obviously all this with respect to MQTT is all fine if you talk about systems like which have capabilities like, let us say, a Raspberry Pi, right, or Odroid board, or boards which are like BeagleBone Black, Arduino boards, BeagleBone Black, Raspberry Pi, so on, which actually run Ubuntu or variants of some Linux essentially. How does MQTT work on very small pieces of hardware? How does it work? Because you are talking about sensors which are sensing some environment and they want to push data using MQTT, small little dots, right. They have a small ultra low power interface, it could be Zigbee, it could be Bluetooth or one of them, and mostly it is Zigbee, let us say, because Zigbee is very popular for building small sensor nodes, and it is a very popular protocol. So if you are using that, how will you get all this stack running on it? You have a huge application stack, MQTT stack, with all these commands which we discussed and all that. Obviously it was not going to work. So you have to pay attention to another type of small variant of the same protocol, which is called MQTT-S. Okay. There is a full specification for MQTT-S. This runs on embedded platforms. So if you ask me what is MQTT-S, it is meant for sensor networks. Okay. It is called MQTT-S. It is optimized for Zigbee, well known Zigbee. It uses 6LoWPAN. I am sure you know already what this means. 6LoWPAN is IPv6 for low power personal area networks. Okay. This is IPv6 adaptation for constrained platforms, 6LoWPAN, and you do not have to use TCP, you can use UDP. Okay. Traditionally MQTT uses TCP, and you actually use it on UDP. It is meant for low bandwidth, wireless sensor networks, right, and frame sizes are small, I will say small frame sizes, and simple devices, right. And it is, what is good about it is really compatible with the normal MQTT brokers, compatible, that is the beauty, right. Obviously if you want to make it compatible, it is not going to be straightforward for you. Okay. You have to build a nice system which I want to draw and show you the picture related to how you can actually enabling I will say enabling MQTT-S, How will you do this? essentially the way it goes, let me just quickly draw a picture for you which will allow us to understand it better. Your MQTT client is, okay, let me put it inside this, right. So, that is the right way to do. Essentially we will talk to now what is known as an MQTT S gateway. Okay. This gateway in turn will now talk to MQTT broker. Okay. That is the nice thing. In fact, this gateway can actually be part of this system. So, I will put a dot here showing that this system, while it is nicely demonstrated shown this way, you can actually push this gateway inside this hardware itself, which is, it could be I would say when I talk about an MQTT kind of a broker hardware, I am referring to systems like Raspberry Pi, please note Raspberry Pi, or I may be referring to BeagleBone, right, Beagle Bone, or I could be referring to Odroid system and so on, which are okay. I mean in terms of they are low power still, but they have a better functionality compared to extremely small devices like this. So, you can have these MQTT clients, essentially this is a client, this is also a client, and they are all connecting to this nice gateway. And see the beauty, this now run UDP, they can run UDP, and up to this layer they actually run 6LoWPAN, right, IPv6 for low power personal area networks. There is an RFC on this, very popular implementation of IPv6 for constrained environments is indeed 6LoWPAN. In fact, it works very well on ZigBee. So, that is ZigBee modes. This can be TCP, right, this can already be TCP. There are other ways by which you can do that. You can also have, if you do not want to pass it through a gateway, you can also use what is known as an MQTT forwarder. So, there is another possibility, you can also use an MQTT forwarder, and so clients can connect on UDP. What kind of clients? MQTT clients can connect on UDP and connect to this forwarder. Forwarder will not change anything, it will simply change, it will simply forward that packet on UDP to the broker, and the broker in turn will change it and maintain a certain information. Okay, it is just a simple forwarding system. So, it has to be UDP all through, and it in turn converts into a client connection and so on. So, either you can essentially pass it through a forwarder, in which case you might now ask a question, why do I need this forwarder at all? I can as well send directly to the broker. Yeah, surely you can also send it directly to the broker over UDP. So, there are many scenarios that you can try. That is the point I am trying to say is that there are many scenarios in which you can use it. Nobody stops you from trying out your own scenario. Okay, if you are able to configure and cleverly write some scripts, why not? You can as well do this thing nicely. Okay. So, so there are brokers, there is a gateway and all that. Okay. Now, it is not that this is just going to work like this. What is